Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. Now, this is a game that took place on the 4th of February and is another instance of appalling behaviour by a tank driver against an Arty. There wasn't actually a team killing in this replay, but what you will see is the tank driver deliberately preventing the GW Tiger from playing in the game. So we'll run the replay and you can actually see what happened. Now we'll speed up the countdown. Now you can see at the start of the battle Mrmusic611 in the GW Tiger, the tier 9 German SPG, is moving into a firing position so he can fire on the enemy. And the cause of all the problems is the E100 driven by Reinhard, who is still sitting in the spawn point. Now Mrmusic in the GW Tiger almost ready to fire. And some very bad language by the Jaegeru against the E100. Okay, he's ready to fire. Mrmusic's lining up on the enemy. But this E100 comes down, approaches him, and then rams into the GW Tiger and just sits there. And he just received a shot from one of his teammates, but not from the GW Tiger. GW Tiger then takes aim at the enemy. And he then fires at the enemy, and he stuns the KV-4 and picks up some stun assist from that KV-4 hit. Quite a lot of stun assist. And then the E100 deliberately places himself in front of the barrel of the GW Tiger so it can't fire. And if the GW Tiger fired right now, it would be regarded as team damage. Now, the GW Tiger can't push the E100 out the way, so he backs off. And then the GW Tiger decides to ram him, does damage to him, and then pushes him backwards. And even though the GW Tiger driver is trying to move forward, he can't. And eventually, the E100 starts pushing him out of the way. And because he's trying to push him up a slope, he slips sideways. Meanwhile, the enemy has actually managed to do quite well. They've killed 5 of the enemy, 6 of the enemy, to the 1 that they've killed. In fact, they're rapidly losing the battle because they've got no Arty support. They've got no heavy support from the E100. And now there's 6 tanks behind. And the enemy has turned up at the cap. That AMX 1390 is about to come in, and the E100 has totally ruined the game of the GW Tiger, and now the GW Tiger is being attacked by the enemy and shot by this 1390 who kills him, and then the 1390 then starts firing into the E100, and very shortly a Leopard turns up. And he starts firing into the E100. And the E100 is not even fighting back. All he's doing is just absorbing the shells. He's just ruined the game for the GW Tiger. And he's not even bothering to fire back. So he's just basically trying to sabotage the game for the other players. And he's now being wiped out by these tanks. And he's out the game. And basically the game has been completely ruined by this E100 driver. And all the other players are now starting, please report the E100 as bot. Because he ruined the game. Now we're about to see the replay from the perspective of the E100. This is the replay from the perspective of the Jaegeru, the E100, Jagdpanzer E100. I thought it was actually the replay from the E100's point of view, but I think that would be very boring because all he does is try to impede the GW Tiger. But we see that the Jaegeru attempts to drive away and go to the heavy area. Now we can see several of the tanks are just not even participating in the game. The Scorpion Gs are sitting at the back as well. They're not really doing anything, but I suspect the reason they fired on the E100 was because he was camping. Okay, we can see that the Jaegeru is actually trying to fight. Meanwhile, I'm looking back to show that the E100 is now trying to impede the GW Tiger and trying to see if the Scorpion fires. Yes, it is one of the Scorpions that fired on the E100. And now they're joining the battle, but I think they're joining it too late. And we can see that the Jaegeru managed to do some damage to the Conqueror, but he has received a hit on the tracks. And the same AMX 1390 who later kills the GW Tiger is also the one that kills the Jaegeru. And we can see that the battle has now switched back to the GW Tiger being pushed back by the E100, and here comes the 1390 and he enters the cap. GW Tiger's been seen, the E100 takes up position alongside him, and then the GW Tiger is unable to do anything to stop this battle from being a loss, and the E100 doesn't even bother to fight. So it's a totally wasted game. and the game is over. So I think you can see that this game is a total waste of time for all involved, because the E100 actually caused them to lose the game by preventing the GW Tiger from taking part in the game, and also the Scorpions to a certain extent did not take part in the game at the start. They sat at the back trying to work out what the E100 was up to. But I think, as you can see, this is extremely bad behaviour by the E100 driver, and you can understand why he has such a low win rate, simply because all he tries to do is impede others in playing the game, or at least that's what he did in this particular game. So that's that.